Welcome to Downshift, my name is Matt. This is the new BMW M2. The M2 has been BMW's answer to kind of silencing the hate from enthusiasts saying that BMW has gotten too heavy, too tech focused, and they've lost their way. So for the second generation, is this the second generation of silencing the hate from enthusiasts? There's a lot to love about this new M2, so we're hitting the highlights, the best and the rest, starting with the rest. First thing that we're going to talk about is weight. Now this thing tips the scales at about 3,800 pounds, which is about 200 pounds more than it was last generation. And that 3,800 pounds is now within 100 pounds of the big brother M4. We'll see if this weight is an issue when we talk more about dynamics behind the wheel later though. Number two, I want to talk about something a little bit subjective, and that's the looks of the car. Now, objectively and comprehensively, I think it's still a pretty handsome car. I like the paint, I think it's got a decent look to it, but it's just not quite as good looking as the last generation was. But it's still better looking than the M3 and the M4, which makes this, the 5 and the 8, the best looking M cars on sale. The grille is an interesting shape here now, and it's frameless, and the lower radiator is unprotected. I do like the running lights, and the squared off geometric lower fascia feels aggressive and muscular. Another thing that feels muscular is the hood bulge that you get here, and the profile is very classic BMW. And then in terms of wheels and tires, you've got 19s up front and 20s in the back, and they're both wrapped in Michelin PS4S tires, which are fantastic. You've got aggressive rear fender flares, and of course you've got body-colored M wing mirrors. And you can get a sunroof now, but the roof is standard as carbon fiber, which is pretty awesome. And the rear end gets the headlight design, but it's basically flipped upside down. And you get a molded-in lip spoiler and quad tips. And of course there's little accents like the anniversary roundels sprinkled around the car, and I think to me the best thing about this is the color. Number three is the steering. Now this might be splitting hairs a little bit, but the steering does feel a little bit more vague than last year. It's got a little bit less feedback. Now this could have something to do with the added weight and needing to increase or boost the EPS or the electronic steering to kind of assist with that, but it still has a really sharp and aggressive front end. This has a lot of dive when you do tip it. It's very accurate, but you're just not quite feeling as much through the wheel as I think you did last generation. And number four, I want to talk about something a little less M-y, and it's the driver assist system, specifically adaptive cruise. Now, you can get two transmission options. The ZF unit does not come standard with adaptive cruise, which just seems a little bit weird to me. And then the manual car, of course, you can't get adaptive cruise at all, which on the surface sounds like it makes sense, but I'm pretty sure there are other manuals in BMW's lineup that you can have adaptive cruise in. So a little bit odd. But now switching gears and talking about some of the good stuff, the first thing I want to talk about is the price. Now all M2s start at $62,000. And that makes this more than a manual Supra, but it's a lot more car than the Supra. It's also more money than a Nissan Z, but see the Supra explanation if you need more information. It's more than a Mustang GT, which is really kind of the only real competitor with rear seats. But still, the M2 is a more disciplined sports car than the Mustang. It's $6 grand less than a base Cayman, you know, the one with the 2-liter turbocharged 4-banger. Yeah, I know the Cayman is mid-engine, etc., but it's Porsche money. The M2 is still the most performance and practicality for the money, hands down. And number two is the engine. Unlike the first generation M2, this comes with the S designation engine right away. It's the S58, the same engine that you'll find under the hood of the M3 4 twins and the X3 X4 M twins. Although it is detuned a little bit here to make 453 horsepower and 406 pound-feet of torque. This thing will do 0 to 60 in about 3.9 seconds with the proper gearbox. The engine's a bit more peaky and has more character, and for a turbo engine it does seem like it wants to rev, so it's fun to play with. And to top it all off, it sounds pretty good. It's not incredible, but you do get some nice cracks and pops on the overrun, so it's a lot of fun. And number three is transmissions, and it's just really nice to have an option here. Of course, you can get the ZF 8-speed automatic, or you can get a 6-speed 3-pedal manual transmission. The manual transmission isn't the best manual in the world, but you can't get a stick in something like an RS3. And you still have a great pedal box. You can leave rev match on, but now you can also turn rev match off while still keeping the traction control on. Of course, the other transmission option is the ZF 8-speed automatic, and you might have a little bit more performance, it might be quicker, a little bit sharper, but there's just something about rowing your own gears, so love having the manual here in the M2. Number four, we'll talk about dynamics and balance. Now for this new M2, you get a bunch of stuff that you're familiar with, like a punchy turbocharged straight 6, power going through an LSD to just the rear wheels, at least so far. But then you get adaptive dampers, which stiffen right up. This thing does ride fairly stiff. So whether you want them to or not, they're gonna be stiff. You do get a 50-50 weight distribution, or pretty dang close, and you get really, really aggressive Michelin PS4S tires, and you get some added bracing and chassis stiffening, of course, over something like an M240i. And what it results in is something that grips way harder than before and dives into corners way better than before and stays more composed in that corner. So objectively, it's a more disciplined, it's a better sports car behind the wheel. But you just kind of get that feeling that this is a little bit more mature than maybe it should be. It doesn't want to hang its tail out as much as it did before. I guess if you want to wag your tail around, just put worse tires on the back. But overall, this thing it's a beautiful handler. And number 5, we're going to talk about some of the interior details. Now, this is an M car with an M engine, and they're not going to let you forget it in here. You've got M tricolor everywhere, on your steering wheel stitching, on your seat belts, on your shift boot, on your door card, which looks really awesome, by the way. On the seats themselves, you can get the carbon buckets, but this is the proper seat to get. And of course, they light up in one of my favorite gimmicks of all time. And you can also choose to get your interior almost entirely made of carbon fiber if that's something that you're interested in. Number 6, we'll talk about tech stuff, because it wouldn't be a modern BMW without a bunch of tech features, right? This M2 is the latest to get the new iDrive 8 system. You get a massive digital instrument cluster and center infotainment screen. You've got wireless Apple CarPlay, you've got a lap timer, a drift analyzer. You don't get 360 cameras, but you do get 360 sensors. And you don't get the reverse assist breadcrumbs, but to be honest, at this price point and this segment, I'm not really expecting that. And yes, your climate controls are in the screen now, but the menu is always on screen, so it's just a touch away. Overall, I really like the new iDrive 8 system. I think the colors and the black levels and all the graphics are really fresh. I like that you can add different widgets to your home screen. It works really, really well, even integrating the climate stuff into the screen. So nice job, BMW. So that's the best and the rest of the new BMW M2. It's still a fun and frisky little sports car with a shocking amount of daily practicality and livability, which makes it pretty much a no-brainer if you ask me. The only question that I'd have is what color to get, and I think we know the answer to that right here. So thanks so much for watching, and thanks to Jake and International BMW for making this video possible, and we'll see you in the next one.